nothing more elusive, perhaps, than an English summer. Unless, of course, it's that first dividend in the pools. But when summer does set in, so many of us forget that even town can be a much warmer, pleasanter and friendlier place. Take, for instance, London's elegant Mayfair. On its fringe is the park. The park to a Londoner is, of course, Hyde Park. 600 acres of wide open spaces where once was a racecourse and even a golf course, where kings used to hunt and play their daily round, where today commoners in their thousands come to forget the daily round. Park Lane, one time home of millionaires, looks gay in its summer dress of green. At number 93 lived Benjamin Disraeli, afterwards Lord Beaconsfield, Prime Minister of England. Sunshine flecks the ever-moving traffic roundabout at Marble Arch, near the northern end of Park Lane. The arch itself was originally erected in front of Buckingham Palace. To Marble Arch, for many years, prisoners were dragged from the Tower or Newgate for execution. A permanent gallows called the Tyburn Tree stood on this very spot. It served its grim purpose for the last time in 1783. Police women, as well as men, patrol the park. The strong arm of the law need not always be male and muscular. Hyde Park has been described as a paradise of trees. When you see them at their best in the summer, you realize how true this is. And those smooth green spaces under the trees are just right for all sorts of games. The trunks make jolly good hiding places. Mayfair poodles just adore Hyde Park. Yes, when summer comes to the park, a good time can certainly be had by all. You can even enjoy a bit of rough shooting. As you walk through the park, and if you have an eye for detail, you may notice the classic designs on the royal gates, or if that escapes you, you can't miss the fountains. A statue of the poet Byron just inside the park revives memories of one of the early Mayfair dandies. In the summer, the flowers are a riot of colour, and the gardeners tuck them up so attractively in their little beds. The settings blend perfectly with the blooms. Between ourselves, Hyde Park gardeners are a rather snooty lot, and they defy anyone to put on a better show. You wouldn't expect to see rabbits in the heart of London, would you? But near the Serpentine, there's quite a family of them. When it's sunny, they come out to play with the young visitors. Young Londoners, especially those who live in Mayfair, are lucky to have such a fine park so near their homes. It must be a good thing, too, for their mothers and nannies. Little mothers say that Hyde Park air is just right for baby. Where Rotten Row begins is a statue presented by the women of England. Yes, it's that colossal bronze figure of Achilles erected in 1822 in honor of the Duke of Wellington and his companions in arms by their countrywomen. Everywhere, the foliage is luxuriant. Bushes, green and thick, border some of the roads and are clustered invitingly all over the greensward. Hyde Park Corner is at the southern end of the park, where it joins Piccadilly, perhaps the most famous thoroughfare in the world. Here are some of the old established professional and political clubs and the plush Park Lane Hotel. Piccadilly is always busy, and in the summer, thousands of visitors flock to the shops and showrooms for the things with the Mayfair touch. It may be something to wear, or something to drive. At this end of Piccadilly are the motor car showrooms, where you can get any of the latest models just by paying enough. Some of these Mayfair showrooms sport the trophies they've won in road events. They show the models with a good performance record. Stars of the racetrack, pedigree stock. The sort of thing that seems to belong naturally to the West End. The palatial Ritz Hotel is built partly over the pavement, and that's where you mustn't throw your orange peel. St. James's Palace, facing St. James's Street, was the residence of the sovereigns of England, from William III to Queen Victoria. The Duke of Windsor, when Prince of Wales, lived in the western part known as York House. The changing of the guard at St. James's Palace, as in Whitehall, is quite a ceremony. It takes place outside the entrances to the state apartments and near the colour court, where you enter the Chapel Royal. At 10:30 every morning, the old guard and the new guard are lined up in Friary Court. The bright scarlet of their tunics, the whiteness of their belts and rifle slings, and the jet blackness of their bearskins make a fine splash of colour against the weathered, Tudored red brick of the old palace. With colours lifted high, the new guard relieves the old guard. The exactness and precision of each movement is a treat to watch. The operation over, the detachment moves off to barracks, with the drums and fifes marking their measured tread. So ends an impressive bit of London ceremonial, a fine summer show for the visitor, and it's free. At Burlington House is the Royal Academy, famed for its summer exhibition. In the forecourt is a statue of Sir Joshua Reynolds, the Royal Academy's first president in 1768. Near the Academy are the luxury shops where you may buy rare and costly things. And further along towards Piccadilly Circus is the Piccadilly Hotel. Bond Street, renowned for its fashionable shops and those things that distinguish it from so many others, its good taste, culture and beauty. On a summer's morning, especially, you'll enjoy a walk down Bond Street and revel in its aristocratic charm. You'll probably notice the treasured insignia of the royal warrant holders and be constantly reminded, of course, that if quality is worth having, it's worth paying for. That's the Burlington Arcade, the famous covered avenue of shops off Piccadilly. And there's Hutch, the famous singer, having a look round. The cause of beauty is very well served, and that goes too for women's crowning glory. And here is Mr. Teasy Weasy himself. What the fashion moguls of Mayfair say today, the world of dress does tomorrow. Some of the most celebrated couturiers have showrooms in Mayfair, and today a fashion preview is being staged by executives. On such an occasion, one can always be sure of seeing something excitingly new, for these are geniuses who create them, the designers and dreamers who might well be called the lords of creation. It's a strenuous business, especially at exhibition time, when none of those final touches ever seem to be really final. As you might expect, Mayfair is the spiritual home of the court photographer, another genius who specializes in society portraits, the kind of society he finds all around him. Here are some examples of his art. A society wedding graced by the presence of the royal family. On the corner of Berkeley Street in Piccadilly is the Berkeley Hotel, and in the same street, the Mayfair. Further along towards Berkeley Square are the motor car showrooms of another holder of the coveted royal warrant. That honor is not casually bestowed, and it's the evidence of character and reputation. Berkeley Square, with its beautiful plane trees in the central gardens, is perhaps London's most aristocratic square. In Mayfair, the accent's on cars, luxury cars, and here's the most luxurious of them all. On the south side of the square is a famous shop where exotic flowers flourish in a wonderful pageant of colour. Just look at these lovely blossoms. Did you ever see anything more beautiful? The magnificence of this collection attracts many visitors to Berkeley Square, especially in the summer. That celebrated nightingale might well have been singing the praises of these gorgeous blooms. Exclusive restaurants are a feature of Mayfair. The Washington, as its name suggests, caters specially for American visitors. And here is that fine old Regency building, Crew House, at one time the American Embassy. In and around Curzon Street, which runs through the centre of Mayfair, you'll meet people from many parts of the world. Into a popular club the other day walked 4 charming visitors. The models are demonstrating the sari, that fascinating length of silk which is worn so gracefully by ladies of the East. Rather nicely wrapped up, don't you think? It's expected that the sari may become increasingly popular among the women of England. Already it's aroused a great deal of interest, and it may not be long before it's seen more often in Mayfair. So there you are, girls. It's all in the wrapper. If you would get your man, first get your sari. Shepherd Market off Curzon Street is the bohemian quarter of Mayfair, a self-contained village of narrow streets, quaint old houses and shops. It's in strange contrast with the mansions around. In the village, babies are left unattended, and there's a steady demand for dogs. There are a score of little cafes in the market, but for those who prefer something stronger, there's the village pub. An uplifting meeting place for the bohemian intelligentsia is the Bon Viveur. Market Street is just about wide enough, if you're so inclined, to swing a small cat. Should you find a child on the doorstep, you'd know it was just an old market custom. And you're bound to run into the popular poodle out shopping with its mistress. It's dogged as does it in Shepherd Market. In the cobbled streets are the stalls of the barrow boys. Summertime brings its quota of fine large strawberries. Off Mount Street, and probably unnoticed by the casual passer-by, are some very attractive gardens with a fountain in memory of Henry Lofts, the designer of many fine buildings in the district. It's typical of Mayfair that you find gardens in strange places. Here's another in Farm Street, just around the corner. It's a lovely little oasis among the big houses. Besides the huge mansion-like houses, there are the charming little ones in the Mews, some of them tucked away behind a bomb site. The Mews houses, or rather cottages, of Mayfair are in a class of their own. They're usually occupied by professional people with very definite views on how a town cottage should be built and appointed, and they do most of the work themselves. Here's an example of the artistry and resourcefulness that go into the building of a Mayfair Mews cottage. It even includes a fountain and a lily pond. And look at this lovely roof garden. You might well imagine you were looking at part of a beautiful estate in the country instead of an artistically laid out little plot on the roof of a cottage in the heart of London. And when summer comes to Mayfair, she brings her lovely roses. What a setting for an artist either to paint or to paint in. When the sun warms the earth and casts its shadows, the roof garden makes an ideal studio, even though it be just a pretty little make-believe patch on someone's roof in town. Almost within eyeshot of that peaceful scene is the busy traffic of Park Street, which runs from Oxford Street to Park Lane. A turn into Grosvenor Street, and in a moment you'll be in Grosvenor Square, all 6 acres of it, and sometimes referred to as Little America. A fine statue of the American President, Franklin Roosevelt, stands in the gardens. It was the work of that celebrated sculptor, Reed Dick, and was erected in 1948. When summer descends on Grosvenor Square, the gardens make a good background for the lunchtime break. Workers from the busy offices around the square come over for a breather before getting down to it again in the afternoon. It's baby's lunchtime break too. There's good reason for the description of Little America. Here's the American ambassador and his lady about to start on a round of diplomatic calls. The square itself is largely surrounded by offices of the United States government. These American offices and their staffs bring a colourful and modern touch into the square, which, oddly enough, was the last to be lit by gas because the residents refused to give up their oil lamps. Incidentally, if you want to know your way about London, ask a United States Marine. Mayfair's hotels are internationally famous. Grosvenor House in Park Lane is so called after the Grosvenors, family name of the Duke of Westminster, who had a house on the site. It occupies the whole of the eastern side of the lane between Mount Street and Upper Grosvenor Street. Another imposing luxury hotel is the Dorchester on the corner of Park Lane and Deanery Street. In front of the hotel are some pretty gardens which at night are floodlit. The entrance to the Dorchester is very colourful and inviting. Ponds of gay fish, bright with flowers and water lilies, make a most attractive approach which, even for Mayfair, is rather different. Visitors may take a bath outside if they wish. The Dorchester stands on the site of what was one of the most magnificent mansions in London. And all that old magnificence has been recaptured in the present building by world-famous interior decorators. Pretend you're a millionaire for a couple of minutes and take a look at one of the suites you will occupy. This is the new pavilion room, designed by Oliver Messel as an addition to his original penthouse, which became world-famous. The hotel has been extended upwards, and on the new 9th floor are now 4 suites, all complete roof garden homes, designed by such experts as Eric Giles, John Sidley, Ronald Fleming and Catherine Bray. The tasteful arrangement of flowers is only one of many details in a scheme of harmonious decoration. This is one of the living rooms, and the designers claim that they have chosen the styles most suited to the best type of English house. Nothing, they say, that may loosely be described as modern has been introduced into the plan of furnishing. Their objective has been a simplicity of design and colour. And here are Eric Giles, designer of this suite, and his son, Michael, saying just that. Michael is following in his father's footsteps. This bedroom is by John Sidley. Other bedrooms might be in pale mushroom, geranium pink, pale blue and off-white, or blue and yellow, and, yes, with a design of owls for better sleep. And the bathrooms might have a pink floor with black mosaic walls, or be carried out entirely in polished cork. Could you imagine anything more sumptuous? And the largest of the 4 new suites includes, besides the maid's bedroom, bathroom and kitchen, a summer house. From a 9th floor roof garden suite, you can get a magnificent view of the broad green expanse of Hyde Park and the distant landmarks of London. On a clear day, you may even glimpse the Kent and Surrey borders. Indeed, the wonderful prospect that stretches for miles all around this rooftop grandstand must be seen to be believed. All this and much more too, just above the traffic in one of London's busiest thoroughfares. A fast-moving elevator connects the two worlds. When evening falls, the night signs come out to play, reminding the socialites of the many fashionable places of entertainment open for their delight. Now the fashionable clubs welcome their guests. Here are some arriving at the 21 room. At the club bar, debutantes and duchesses, peers and playboys get together. It's going to be a cheerful evening, and who wouldn't be cheerful on such an occasion in an atmosphere like this? Now it's cabaret time, and here to sing his favorite song is Idris Evans.
They always say that love blossoms out when spring is in the air. I know a better time and a place for my own love affair. When it's summer in Mayfair and the sun shines through, when it's summer with blue skies above, that's the time for falling in love. And in the sunshine I realized how happy we could be. So come next summer in Mayfair, darling, you'll be married to me. And in the sunshine I realized how happy we could be. So come next summer in Mayfair, darling, you'll be married to me. Darling, you'll be married.
And now, on with the dance. So the season runs its course. There's always so much to see and so much to do. Perhaps one of these fine days you too will enjoy a summer in Mayfair.